Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. I'm a former fourth-string college quarterback and mediocre middle relief pitcher who earned himself a film and media studies degree. And now, I'm a single dad who loves to talk Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV, and comedy. On today's episode, we're going to look at the biggest stories and storylines for each month of the Mets 2025 season. And so, without further ado, let us finally get it started up in here. In June, we got the June Swoon. We played really bad baseball. Gave up 139 runs in June, scoring 113. So we scored more in June than we did in May, but we lost 3 more games. So we went 12-15 in June, 444 winning percentage. On June 3rd, we led the majors with an 84.9% success rate stealing bases. And that number, I think, has only increased. I think it's almost close to 90% now. I think it's like 87, 89%, I want to say. Juan Soto is eyeing a career high in steals, and it's getting to be laughable how easy it is for Juan Soto to steal bases. I've never seen anything like this in my life. This guy is taking running, like walking starts. Like they've showed it multiple times where they showed the angle behind the home plate, behind the catcher, looking out to second base. You can see Juan Soto in the corner of the frame, and he's just like the pitcher. It comes set, and Soto takes at least 4 or 5 steps towards second before sprinting. It's like, and then the pitcher has no clue that Soto's going. And it's happened multiple times. And Soto has attributed his success to the first base coach. I have his name written down here somewhere. I don't remember off the bat. I think his name is Rodriguez. But a prolific base stealer in his own right during his own playing career. And my God, what he's done. I mean, how many years have we talked about the Mets being unable to do 2 things? Throw guys out and steal bases. And as far in the past, I want to say 2 to 3 seasons, that has not been the case. Alvarez is throwing guys out. Torrens is like, you cannot steal bases on Luis Torrens. He's just, I think he has the highest put out rate on stolen base attempts. I think he has the highest catch rate. It's like 45, 47% or something like that. It's the highest in the majors. Alvarez has obviously got a cannon, just a little bit erratic and inaccurate in his throwing. If he can just fine-tune that and hone it, he could be on Torrens' level, but he's still, I think he's league average or better than that. So we're throwing guys out because, I mean, you think back, I mean, when was the last time we had a catcher that was throwing guys out before Torrens and Alvarez? I mean, I don't know. It's hard because I don't think Piazza was not throwing guys out. I mean, people would steal on us all day long when we had Piazza behind the plate. He just could not throw guys out. I guess Carter, did he have a pretty good throwout rate? He might have. But, like, you think about all the catchers we've had since Piazza, and it's just like, since 2004, 2005, I can't name a catcher. John Buck, Travis d'Arnaud. Yeah, there's been some interesting cats in the mix there at catcher. So nice to have a good backstop. Although they're taking a beating, man. I cannot believe, like, the hits. I mean, there was a stretch or period where Luis Torrens, like, Alvarez was still down in the minors, and Luis Torrens was carrying the bulk of the load, and he was just getting roughed up. Every game, he's taking a ball off the groin, the hip, the bat off the head, off the arm, the wrist. Seems like every game he was taking some major knocks and bumps. So that's why it was so good to get Alvarez back. And then Alvarez comes back, plays well, and then gets tested for concussion after taking, was it a ball or a bat to the head? Oof. Rough sport, contact sport. So yeah, there were some other cool stats around base stealing. Like, I think McNeil doesn't steal a lot, but his success rate is like 90+%. Nimmo's in that same spot. He doesn't steal a ton of bases, but when he does, he's usually safe. So, for me, it used to be, it's like Marte was like our guy, and that was it. And like Acuna brings some speed, and he could steal some bases, especially late in the game as a pinch runner. But it's across the board, June 4th, the last time we saw Mets prospect Ronnie Mauricio in the big leagues. He was 22 years old, and it was the end of the 2023 season, so it's good to have Ronnie back. He obviously went through a down period, but had some big hits against the Giants in San Francisco. Obviously didn't come up clutch in this last game against San Francisco in the 10th, but I'm just like wildly impressed with his physical stature. Like I become like a 60, 70-year-old scout when I look at him, like an old school classic, like NFL scout. Like, oh, he's got big hands. Looks good in shorts. Like, I become that guy every time I look at Ronnie Mauricio. I'm like, this guy gives me like Ellie Cruz, O'Neill, Cruz from the De La Cruz from the Reds, and O'Neill from the Pirates. Like, he's just a tall, lanky, strong-looking dude. And so far, it's like he's obviously not playing up to their level, but it just feels like he has that capability, he has that capacity to put on a show, and he's just fun to watch. It's just like you expect big things every time I look at him. So good to have him back. I don't know who this is referencing. Well, that stinks. June 10th, Pete Alonso passed Dave Wright on the Mets' all-time homer list with numbers 242 and 243. There's only one Met that stands in front of old Pete. That's Darryl Strawberry at 252. That was mid-June, right? We're now beginning of August. Alonso's productivity has slowed a bit, but I think he should break that record, which that'll be fun to celebrate this year, amongst other things. Paul Blackburn recorded his first career save, and that was about it for him. I don't know when he's supposed to be back. It's meant to check in on that. Mauricio hit the Mets' longest home run of the season, 456 feet. It did come at Coors Field, so it's like that has to come with an asterisk. I think, there should be like a formula or algorithm that's like, all right, well, deduct 10 feet for being in Coors Field. But it went into the upper deck out there in Denver. Beautiful ballpark. I've been there once, and I don't know that you have a better view. Like if you sit mid-tier mezzanine upper deck, and you're sitting facing the outfield, you get a view of the Rockies, and it's just like, oh, majestic. So good. Lindor broke his toe. And this is right around the time that the Mets went into their like really bad slump. And I'm wondering if the toe, they're not going to talk about it in season, but you'd have to think that after the season is over, it's going to come out that the toe was a lot worse than that the team said it was, and that Lindor said it was. And hopefully it's after after we're popping bottles, and they're like, oh, by the way, this guy should have got surgery. But he stuck it out. He toughed it out. And I feel like that's the case here because ever since he broke his toe, since June 13th, it has been bad news bears for the Mets and for Lindor specifically. And as we've seen, there was that record where when Lindor hits a home run, the Mets win. And that streak came to an end. I think it was like 28, 29 games in a row where if Lindor hit a home run, Mets win the ball game. So when he goes, they go. And so when he doesn't go, that's when things become problematic. So I have a feeling this is right around the time, like Kodai Senga went to the IL with the strained hamstring. Of course, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, another friggin' Achilles or something that's going to end his season. But luckily, just a strained hamstring. But can we freaking figure out what is going on with Senga's lower body? Can we please conduct some kind of experiment, autopsy to just figure out what is going on with his lower body, because it's like the Achilles, the hamstring, this and that. It's like every time it's not the point where I get like PTSD every time there's a ground ball to the right side of the field towards Alonso and Senga has to cover first. I'm just like, well, I mean, I get that with almost every pitcher. I'm like, something bad's going to happen. Almost always does. But with Senga especially, it's just like, oh God, just, I'd rather Pete just eat it and we let the guy go on first and we'll just figure it out. Don't end your season to get out in the fifth inning of a game in friggin' May or June. So he gets sidelined June 13th. And then from June 13th on, that week leading up to Father's Day was one of the tougher weeks I've had as a Mets fan, as most Mets fans can attest to. Like, that was really brutal baseball to the point where it's like, it makes you question pretty much everything in your life. One thing we didn't have to question was David Peterson, June 14th, his first career shutout. He ranked 4th in the National League in ERA. What a moment. I mean, those are so scarce and rare these days to have complete games, and much less a complete game shutout that you like, do you start to now think about Peterson becoming the next, maybe not the next DeGrom, maybe not even the next Zach Wheeler, but maybe just like approaching that echelon of like, okay, this is a guy that we should probably think about locking up for years to come. Of course, his last outing wasn't so hot, but it wasn't like a complete debacle. June 15th, 1977, and I think this is why we always have a June swoon. I feel like as long as I've been doing this podcast, as long as I've been a Mets fan, we stink in June. Other than I think maybe last June was when we actually started to turn it around. So barring last season, it feels like we always go through a June swoon. And I think it's because of this. I think it's because of the Tom Seaver curse. June 15th, 1977, the Mets trade Seaver moments before the trading deadline, sending him to the Reds for 4 players: infielder Doug Flynn, outfielders Steve Henderson and Dan Norman, and pitcher Pat Zachary. Seaver went on to win 75 games for the Reds in 5.5 seasons and hurl his only no-hit game in a Reds uniform on June 16th, 1978, so almost a year to the date. And that was the same day the New York trades Dave Kingman to the Padres for some guy named Bobby Valentine. So I think that's what it's like, that the ghost of Tom Seaver. I know we have the statue, and that's great, and maybe that appeased the ghost a bit. But that ghost is still pissed about what happened in mid-June around Father's Day in 1977, and that has continued to crush us since then. Because it's when there is little to no explanation for things, and things are just going sideways and we can't really put our finger on it, I just always blame superstition. I'm always going to lean on superstition and be like, well, we're cursed. We're haunted. June 18th, Tyler McGill's scans after an elbow sprain showed no structural damage. I don't believe he's pitched since then. I mean, it would be nice to get him back at some point. We're now looking at, I guess he's on the 60-day DL. So maybe in the next couple of weeks, we can start to think about bringing him back into the fold. I would imagine that he would be more coming out of the bullpen in long relief to start. If we still have productivity out of Minaya, Montaz, Senga, Peterson, Holmes. And then, this is where it got really dicey. June 20th, we had our season-high 6th consecutive loss, and then we lost again on June 21st to mark, I believe, a season-high at 7 consecutive losses. June 23rd, Soto stole his 8th base in 9 attempts. His career high is 12. I can't see how he doesn't beat that. Antoine Richardson is his name. Man, I was way off. Samsonite. He said that Richardson makes base stealing fun for him, providing him with information no one else has in the league. And ringing endorsement for Richardson to the point where, like, if you are David Stern, Stephen Cohen, lock this motherfucker in for the rest of his days. Do not let him leave the building. I know we don't steal a ton of bases, but we are successful, so goddamn successful stealing bases. And it's all because of Antoine Richardson. Do not let this guy out of your sights. Got to keep him for the rest of his tenure. This was also right around the time that we demoted Francisco Alvarez. It made sense. The guy was a liability, undisciplined at the plate, swinging at everything. I know we're all struggling with runners in scoring position. He was especially brutal to the point where it's like there's a guy on third with one or fewer outs. That guy needs to score. Figure it out. Hit a fly ball. Striking out a lot, not having a lot of walks. So it made sense. Just get your mind right down at the Syracuse level. And it worked, We'll get into it in a little bit, but it worked. June 24th, Frankie Montas returns after some really bad rehab starts that I mentioned. So far, not so great. Okay. Would like to see him get better, but it's progress, not perfection, right? So just give him some slack. I think he's now had, probably had 3 or 4 starts since then. He had his last outing was okay, and then he ran into some trouble. So it's like, we just need Manaea and Montas to give us 5 innings every time out, and we need to have them give up 3 or fewer runs in those 5 innings. Is that doable? Is that achievable? I'd like to think so. Juan Soto also got his 1,000th career hit. Of the 83 big leaguers to log 1,000 hits before their 27th birthday, 17 went on to reach 3,000. 5 are still active in the majors, with 2 of those being Manny Machado and Freddie Freeman. For some reason, I think Freeman's older than Machado, so he might not get it, but I could be wrong about that. June 27th, we lost Griffin Canning to an Achilles injury for the year. That sucked because he was, I think he was coming off one of his worst seasons, but he was kind of a bright spot. Something that we weren't expecting a whole hell of a lot, and he was giving us more than what we wanted or expected. And to lose him sucked. But what a month for Juan Soto. He silenced a lot of the haters, a lot of the critics. He had a record month. He was named the National League Player of the Month in June. Delivered a monster June, hitting 10 home runs, 19 for the season by late June. Had multiple multi-home run games, and by June 25th, he had become the youngest player in Major League Baseball history to reach 27 career multi-homer games. So, again, relax, dude. Cue up Aaron Rodgers saying, relax. We did the same thing with fucking Lindor. I think people did the same thing with Beltran. We did the same thing with Piazza. Just relax. These are people, okay? Have you ever gone to your best friend's house to eat and the chicken was just no good? Macaroni's mush, the peas are sour. The food just ain't no good. It gets better. Just relax. More times than not, it'll turn out to be all right. Juan Soto is not Jason Bay. I know we all have Jason Bay syndrome. He's not Jason Bay. He's not Roberto Alomar. He's not Mo Vaughn. He's not a lot of the guys that we signed that are past their prime. They're in the twilight or dawn of their career. This is not the Wilpon Mets. This is the Cohen Mets. We got Lindor as he's peaking. We got Soto as he's peaking. We're getting guys that are, as they're peaking, that have a lot of great, good years ahead of them that are going to be very productive. So it's just relax. We opened June at 45-24, holding a 5.5 game NL East lead, and we lost 11 of 14 games from June 13 onward. The 7-game skid was our longest since 2023, which, that was a nightmare season in 2023. We got swept by the Rays. That's what kick-started things. And that's when I had a lot of people that I'm friends with, Mets fans, reach out to me and be like, oh my God, panic button. And I'm like, guys, it's not like we were playing a shit team. The Rays, incredibly underrated, should have had more wins than they did. If you look at their expected wins, There was like, they should have had like 2, 3, 4 more wins than their record reflected. They have a great lineup. They have good pitching, and they play in a very, very, very. This isn't a hot take. The AL East is the hardest division in professional baseball, with the NL West a close second, and the NL East maybe third. So, I know the Rays might have been struggling as they came into that series, but to be swept sucks by any team. But by the Rays, it's like, it didn't affect me. And I remember talking to 2 of my friends, and they text me and they go, "Oh my God, what's happening?" Da da da. And I was like, listen, we have a get-right series coming up against the Braves in Atlanta. I mean, you want to talk about words that I wish I could take back and eat and burn and have no one see the light of day. Me saying that we're going to have a get-right series against the Braves in Atlanta just shows you how confident I was in this team, and that I was still in the denial phase. I was heavily, heavily into denial going into that Braves series in Atlanta. I was like, we're going to wipe the floor with these guys. We're going to blow them out. The Braves are in a friggin' tailspin. They have had so many injuries. They have guys underperforming. Like, we're going to go in there. And the Braves at that point were playing below 500 baseball. And it was like, we're going to go in there and we're going to absolutely demolish them. And then we got swept. So you want to pin that one on me? There's some games you can pin on Mendoza. There's some games you can pin on Diaz. This one you can pin on me. How I forgot that Atlanta is an absolute house of horrors for us. That's, there's only so much memory that the mind can handle. And I guess I must have pushed that out for some other stupid memory. Only one of those 3 games was close, which adds insult to injury. And it was a walk-off. So at that point, I was like, oh boy, we might be in trouble. So we go into Philadelphia and we get our fucking doors blown off 10-2. Now, the game, in both of the blowout losses, we had a 3-game set against the Phillies in Philadelphia. In 2 of the 3 losses where we did get blown out by by 8 runs and by 6 runs, those games, for the most part, were close halfway through. I feel like we kept it in check, close for 5-6 innings, and then it completely unraveled as the bullpen came on. And that goes back to starters not going deep in games, having to go through a lot more bullpen arms, having the injuries to the rotation and the bullpen. So a lot of factors playing into that. So, we did have the one blowout win where we were able to tie them, get tied for the division lead, but not great. I had a stat here about that Phillies series. I don't know if I have it here. Yeah, the 11-4 win over the Phillies in Philly, where we hit 7 solo home runs, tied the Major League Baseball record for most solo shots in a game. Contributions coming from Soto, Nimmo, Lindor, Jared Young, don't know where he is right now, and Francisco Alvarez. This was one of the worst losing runs in franchise history. So Father's Day was not the week before and week after Father's Day were brutal. The rotation posted a 6.04 ERA over its final 6 starts in June, the worst in the National League over that span. Griffin Canning obviously had the left Achilles, ended his season. Senga, 15-day IL with the hamstring. McGill with the 15-day IL retroactive right elbow sprain, which that I guess has been extended. Manaya had some setbacks with his oblique and elbow. And then we have the Braves coming to Citi Field, and we lose the first 2 games. And I was just like, my God, dude. Like, where does this collapse rank in terms of Mets franchise history? It has to be up there. So we lose the first 2 games. The first game by 1 run, the next game by 3 runs. We're now a game and a half behind the Phillies in the NL East. And then we kind of rally the troops a little bit, and we win the final 2 games. So we split against the Braves in that series, which, seeing as the Braves have just cratered, this is another, like, the series loss to the Twins having a losing series to the Braves, who are woeful this year. And then this series, we're going to look back and be like, fuck, dude. If we falter down the stretch, if something crazy happens and we miss the postseason, this stretch against the Braves, Pirates, Orioles, and Royals, A's and Twins, those series are the ones we're going to look back on and be like, if we just a win here, a win there, we don't lose that one. Split the series against the Braves at home, and then we go to Pittsburgh, and we get outscored 30-4 against arguably one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. I mean, no one's going to surpass the Rockies. The Rockies are doing historically bad, but the Pirates are down there, bottom of the barrel, basement level type play, to the point where Paul Skenes, I think, wants out, and Mitch Keller is on the trading block, and he might be gone. We lose the first game 9-1. We lose the second game 9-2. We lose the third game 12-1. It was the biggest, largest run differential in franchise history, 30-4. We dropped out of first place for the first time since late May. We were 3-13 over a 16-game span. The Pirates were 35-50 when we faced them. 4/5 of the rotation on the IL. Mark Vientos went 1-for-13 with 5 strikeouts. Francisco Lindor managed just 1 hit over the 3-game series. Fucking woof, dude. That was, at that point, I was like, oh, okay. I don't think I was completely losing it. It was just tough. It was just like, I don't even know. Like, luckily, this is happening now. I think that's been my mantra, is like, luckily, this is happening now. Like, if this is happening in September, my hair's on fire. But the fact that it's happening in June before the All-Star break, I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but like, goddamn. Juan Soto hit 11 home runs in June, becoming the only Met ever with 9+ home runs and 20+ RBIs in a single month. The rest of the offense struggled, hitting 195 with runners in scoring position, chasing pitches at a 30% clip. I mean, we had Blade Tidwell made his first start. Colin Poche? I don't even remember that guy. He made a start. Brandon Waddell opened a game. And then Vientos came back, from the IL on June 27th. And was, and it's to be expected. Guy comes back from injury. He's not going to be operating at, 100%. Even if he's 100% physically, psychologically, mentally, like, is he 100%? No, he's probably a little skittish about the injury and like getting back out there and going full tilt. Front office also signed depth pieces. Skip that. Skip that. Skip that. And Juan Soto led Major League Baseball in OPS for the month of June at 1.208. Holy shizer, dude. And I mentioned the longest win streak when homering in the regular season since 1900. Francisco Lindor ranks second with 28 games his team won when he homered. That came to an end in June. But you had Carl Furillo with 29 straight, his team winning 29 straight games when he homered. For, it looks like it could be the Red Sox or the Boston Braves. I think it's the Red Sox, but it might be the Boston Braves. 1951 and 1953. Ken Caminiti, what a name from the past, dude. Ken Caminiti, in my eyes, is like the ultimate 90s baseball player. Like, yeah, sure you have McGuire, sure you have Bagwell. Ken Caminiti is like the definition of 90s baseball. 97 and 98. And then Lou Gehrig is tied with Caminiti. Each of the teams won 25 games straight when they homered. So that is June. Yeah, so that's it for this episode. In terms of future Mets content, future Mets episodes, we're going to look at the Mets all-quarter century team. So it's the best Mets team. So it's the Mets team of the 2000s, the 21st century, through 25 years, from 2000 to 2025. Who's our Mets team? Looking at each position there. We're also going to we're going to try and rank the Athletic put out like the best MLB's 25 best games of the 2000s, which I'm not like crazy about their list. The Mets had 2 slots on that list, which very interesting, the games that they chose over 25 years. And then we're going to look at, that inspired me to take a look at the 25 best New York Mets games of the 2000s. But for now, grazie. Thanks for listening. And thank you for watching. And we'll talk to you soon. Adios, muchachos.